Okay, so here we are again. Jeff Goldstein and myself, Eliyahu Holly. And I think one of the best things, the best way to learn is to have people tell stories from their lives, especially people who've had, I think, amazing mystical lives like Jeff here has and continues to have. So we thought we'd get together this time and Jeff would just talk a little bit about the things that have happened to him during his life, some stories. So how are you doing today, Jeff?
Doing very good, thank you. Feeling good. Nice to be out here with you. Nice to see your smiling face again.
Well, it's very nice to be here. So Jeff, tell us a story, as the little ones say.
Okay. Well, I want to tell a story about you, actually.
Oh, he's turning the tables on me. I don't know about this. This is not expected.
When I first met Eliyahu, he was called Isaac then.
That's right. My first name is Isaac in English and Yitzchak in Hebrew. And I went by Isaac all my life until a certain point.
When I first met you, we started to do meditation groups over at your home.
That's right.
And I lived about 45-minute walk away from your home. And every time I used to come over there, not every time, but many times when I came over to our meditation groups, I used to walk. And one of the things that I thought about was how thankful I am that I have legs.
Well, I have legs too.
Yeah, I know that.
Yes.
But it was very sad for me to see you in the condition you were.
Right.
And I walked there and I was thankful. But every time I got there, I realized that you were kind of above this. Like you had accepted your condition and you were kind of above the limitation. And I had to work on my own limitations inside myself. So in a sense, you inspired me to become more whole by just being who you are. And you have a limited body, unfortunately. We've discussed it many times.
Okay.
And I'm sad about that. I would love to.
Well, no need to be sad. I'd love to change the situation, and I work towards that. But it's been 30 years. Yes.
Anyway,
31.
Every time I walked over, I was just thankful that I could walk, and thankful to come over to be with you and to share meditation, and it was like an inspiration coming over. So I'm not sure if this is a good story for you, but this is for the tape. This is good.
Well, when I was a kid, I had an accident when I was 17, diving accident. I dove into a swimming pool, tried to impress a girl, and didn't pay much attention to the dive. And since that time, I've been this way. And anyway, when I was young, before, I was a very unhappy person, and I could remember, a lot of jealousy and envy. Like, I would watch football, and I would dream of being one of those players, or basketball, or whatever, or movies, and I would think, why can't I do that? And I would actually envy, the rich and the famous, or the bold and the beautiful, as they say. And I was thinking now that, when I see somebody who meets this description, I don't envy them anymore, whether they're young or whether they're my age. And I don't envy them, even though they may have a beautiful body and a very luxurious, glamorous life. I don't envy them because I have a power. Well, it sounds like I'm blowing my own horn, and maybe I am, but I have a power to connect to above and below and spirit, the directions, and a power to see deeply into things and to connect deeply into nature and into the beauty in people And so I'm not jealous like I used to be, because I have developed this deep seeing, not as deep as others, but at least for me, this deep seeing that I could see that these people don't have. And because they don't have it, they have a lot to learn, like I had a lot to learn. And they have to go through a lot if they're going to develop it. And it doesn't matter whether they're rich or famous or beautiful and whatever. Thank God I've been blessed with this ability to connect. And that's what meditation does. Meditation is the key. Yogananda said that meditation was the key to happiness. And it is, because it gives you that deep contact with life. And only when you have that can you be happy. So, okay, enough about me.
Well, let me just say something about you, is that you've been an inspiration to myself and many other people. And you've developed very well. I've known you probably for 15 years, and I've watched you develop more and more and more to a place where your handicap is your strength, or one of your strengths, I should say, because you've used it, and you've been inspiration, and you develop yourself in ways that you and you have the time to do it.
Yeah.
In ways that are very important. And so anyway, I just thought I would tell this story.
Well, thank you.
Wanted to surprise you.
You certainly did. Okay. So now, Jeff, tell us a story.
Well, I was thinking about a story about one day I was on a beach. I was in America, and I was on one side of the beach. It was a long beach. On one side of the beach, I was watching the sun go down, and on the other side of the beach, I was watching the moon rise. And I was having a very mystical experience. But I was in kind of a state where I was lost. I had lost myself. And
You mean generally or just that day?
No, generally. I had lost my connection to spirit because of a problem that I had with someone who manipulated me very strongly, who was what I call a black magician, and an unconscious black magician at the time, or a semi-conscious black magician. And he manipulated me, and I lost myself. It was for a year or two. I could tell that story more, but if I want to get to that to the beach. Anyway, I was kind of lost, and I was really in a kind of weird space. But I was having this beautiful mystical experience on the beach, and all of a sudden, Spirit started to speak with me. And Spirit said, "Okay, are you ready to do what you came to do on Earth, or do you want to leave?" And as I say that, I still get chills in my body as I say those words to you. And I said to Spirit, I said, "But look at me. I'm a mess. I'm in horrible shape. I can barely remember what's going on. I barely remember my spirit." And Spirit said to me, "Are you ready to do what you came to do on Earth?" And I said yes. And from that moment on, my life changed. I started taking steps more and more and more towards remembering my spirit and getting back and discarding this role that I took on from this manipulation from this man.
Oh, I love that phrase. Taking more and more steps to remember my spirit. That's a beautiful phrase. That goes deep. Yes.
And then I had another experience.
But I want to ask you first about that one. Okay? A lot of people will wonder, as I do myself, when you say you heard the voice of spirit. Well, what do you mean by that? Did you hear a voice in your head that said, like, Jeff, like in the Ten Commandments, when God talks to Moses, to Charlton Heston? This is Moses.
Well,
how was it for you?
I never had that. It was like it was definitely a voice inside of me.
You heard a voice?
Yeah, it was the voice inside of me that I heard. I mean, it's a hard way to describe it, but spirit speaks through our human bodies. In other words, spirit. It's not like an outside spirit came into me. Spirit came and talked through my spirit to me. So the spirit of creating, you could say, or the spirit of my guide, an angel, came and talked to my spirit, and my spirit talked to me. So in other words, I was, in a sense, I was channeling through my true self, channeling spirit through my true self, which I think is what is the most natural thing in the world, and I think everyone does it, just certain extent. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I think that's right.
It's a hard thing to say because it's not like there isn't like a person or a voice out there. It's like there's an essence that's present that can communicate with our spirit. Now, if there's an essence that communicates directly to a person's mind, I think that could be trouble because if our spirit is not the translating factor for another. Sometimes if our mind is a translating factor, and I've heard people do this, those people, they get what I call possessed.
Right.
They can take on something that's not clean because there are energies or essences that are out there that are not clean, that need human energy. And that's a whole other story.
That's a whole other story. There's a very good book on that subject, spirit possession, called The Unquiet Dead, which you read.
Yes, many years ago. You gave it to me.
By Dr. Edith Fiore, a clinical psychologist. And it's a fact that when people die, if they're addicted to something, or they're afraid of going to the light, or feeling guilty, afraid of heaven, afraid of God, or if they're addicted, then they'll hang around and look for someone to possess. She's a clinical psychologist. She said something. A lot of her clients had this problem. So, The Unquiet Dead by Dr. Edith Fiore. So, okay. So you heard this voice. And it spoke to your spirit, not to your mind. And
then my spirit spoke to my mind, and that voice came through into my mind. That basically said, "Okay, are you ready to do what you came here on earth to do, or are you going to leave this earth?"
You know,
I had to make a choice.
Well, thank God you chose what you chose. Neil Donald Walsh. From the Conversation with God books, he in his first book, I think, God says to Neil, I talk with people all the time, every day, all the time. But the thing is, most people don't listen. So, Jeff, you decided to start taking steps, and it's all about choice, isn't it? This life is about choosing the right, the spiritual path, eventually, anyway. So you started making some good choices, and your life turned around. Is that correct?
That's true, yes. I started to make good choices, but what I started to do was to feed my spiritual part more, and to trust in myself more, because I had lost trust in myself. What happened in that circumstance where I met this stole my trust from him, and I allowed him to do it. And then I no longer allowed him to do it because it was going on. But now I want to tell you the story about how.
I want to comment. I'm sorry. Okay, about this idea of the black magician and stealing your trust in yourself. According to the book Initiation by Elizabeth Haig, she talks about black magicians, and she says that what they do with people is they turn them into satellites. So have this image of the magician in the middle and the satellite, like the moon, going round and round the object in the middle. Okay, that's the work of the black magician, to make satellites out of people. And in my opinion, you see this, people like Sun Myung Moon, the Moonies, where he tells thousands of people who to marry who, and they don't even know each other, and he doesn't know either of them. But they lose their trust in themselves. They trust the Reverend Moon, and so they marry whoever they say, whoever he says they should marry. He makes satellites, in my opinion. And she says in the same book, she says that a white master, a master of love and light, he will never do that. He will set up the configuration of an 8 or an infinity symbol between himself and the pupil or the student, whereas he's in one oval of the 8, and the pupil, let's say, is in the other oval of the 8, and they're equals. No satelliting. So that's my opinion of what the black magician does.
Well, I don't know if Sun Myung Moon is a black magician or not. I think he may be a very powerful leader that people listen to, and he may has taken his power to a high extent.
Well, I have my opinion.
I don't really know or something, but I know that when a person wants to change something, or they want to manipulate and change something to get it their way, and they get other people to help them, then they create, I agree, this type of satellite, you could say, or these people that are working for them and thinking like them, so that they become, in a sense, brainwashed.
Yes.
And so that their brain, not that they're cleaning their brain, because brainwashing, but they're actually convinced that their way of thinking is better than
Hitler, Stalin, the cult of the personality, these are classic examples of creating huge amounts of satellites anyway.
And there's a lot of this on Earth, and there are some that are conscious and some that are unconscious. The ones that are conscious are particularly want to manipulate people, and they want to do things that are evil things, in a sense.
Indeed.
And the ones that are unconscious have gotten like addicted to it and themselves. And the ones that I call semi-conscious are the ones that are in that battle between. And
one more sentence. The teacher of Yogananda, Lahiri Mahasaya, the great master, he said that a real yogi brings everyone up to his own level. That's something, of course, you'll never see in the Moonies.
Well, in a sense, a true master or someone who's a good teacher just invites a person into their sacred space, and in that sacred space, then a person learns and a person develops their spirit. And this is what I feel with you. And I also feel that in many of the gatherings that are in your home and other things like this.